Hello beautiful people, how are you today? Good, I hope. Today I wanted to talk about expectations and the so-called journey to enlightenment. It was Ram Dass who said that it's important in life to expect nothing, to take every experience, including the negative ones, as merely steps on the path, and then to proceed. Many people have huge expectations of other people. Many people have huge expectations of themselves, and they can become so entrapped in these expectations that it can actually hinder their life. Now, there's lots of different concepts in terms of the road to enlightenment, the road to so-called success. But we can only follow that road to success if we've already defined success in our lives. Now, we all have different levels of expectation. If you were a mosquito, your aim is probably the next bite, so they can suck enough blood to survive through the night. If you're a dog, your route to success is probably the next meal that you eat, the next bit of fun you have, the next walk you go on. If you're an eagle, perhaps the route to success is to circle up above the clouds, watching the world go by, and then once every 3 days, come down and go for the kill, or go for somebody else's kill. But if you're a human being, someone else is trying to do another drop of wisdom as I speak. But if you're a human being, perhaps your idea of success is based on what your parents set up for you as your expectations for that life. Perhaps they wanted you to become a real estate agent. Perhaps they wanted you to become a lawyer or a doctor, or to pass all your exams so you could be the top of your class and get any job you wanted, go to the best university in your country. But the important thing that we remember about success is that the only person who can define our own success is ourselves. And if we go by everybody else's expectations, everybody else's limits of what they think we should do with our lives, then immediately we have a big problem. Now, I wanted to refer to the 3 biggest questions that I get about spiritual journeys, because over the last 6 months I've received a lot of questions from some people who are just embarking on their journey, some people who are well into their journey, and some people who are not even spiritual, but people who wanted to ask questions to me. And it's incredible how these 3 questions always seem to come up. The first question is, why am I here? Now, it's a question that if you're on a spiritual journey, you're bound to ask. But often people who've been drinking a lot of alcohol also get into this very philosophical subject. You don't necessarily have to be on a spiritual journey to start going this deep. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But the second question I always seem to get asked is, why did this happen to me? People want to know why a certain thing has happened in their life to them, because they think they don't deserve to have that. Maybe they're on a spiritual journey, so they wonder, why on earth, when I've already come on this journey and I've started to believe in something bigger, would I have to go through this horrible experience? And for those people who aren't on a spiritual journey, and they want to justify something happening in their life, this can often be the springboard, or in fact, whatever the opposite of the springboard is, to their life starting to collapse, because the trauma kicks in and they really start to break down and all parts of their life start to fall away. And the third question that I get asked, and this is often by people who are just beginning their spiritual journey, will I be enlightened in this lifetime? Now, the reason I wanted to talk about these 3 questions, sorry about the background noise, my little friend in the background, all these questions imply expectations. So the first question, why am I here? Well, I think this question can create all sorts of problems for us, because there's probably some ego involved in the very asking of the question. But even more so, it is that absolute need that you have to define yourself, and to define yourself to others. You won't die, you'll come to life. You shouldn't be concerned about how other people define you, and when they do define you, they're limiting themselves, so it's their problem. But when you also try and define yourself, that is immediately placing limitation on your life, because whatever you say, Spirit will tell you that it could deliver something far greater. And if you limit yourself in your expectations, or limit yourself trying to justify what you're doing in your human shell, you're stopping yourself fulfilling the most beautiful, incredible, magnificent potential that you've got within you. Now, potential isn't about going off and doing something unbelievable. Potential isn't about earning loads of money. It's not about wearing designer clothes. It's not about becoming a Hollywood film star. Potential is about fulfilling the full love and happiness within your heart. And in human terms, many people might look at someone's life and mistakenly think that because they haven't earned loads of money, because they're not famous, because they haven't got the greatest, highest job that they could imagine, because it might be that you're doing something that they simply don't understand. There's no measure you can put on the happiness and love that someone feels inside themselves. Well, maybe there is. Maybe scientifically soon there will be some kind of measurement so you can define how happy someone like Eckhart Tolle is, or someone who is genuinely close to enlightenment. But the only person that should matter to is yourself. Only you know what you're doing on this planet. And if you start asking a question like, why am I here? Well, the answer is simply to achieve the highest state of love possible. Yes, you physically have to be here, but what you shouldn't feel you need to do is define the role that you have on this planet. Because your role is just being you. Your role is just living out that uniqueness, bringing love to other people. It was Buddha who said 1,000 candles can be lit from one single candle, and the life of that candle will not be shortened by the fact that it's lit all these other candles. It will just carry on burning happily. And I think bringing love to other people's lives is perhaps a really beautiful way to measure your love, because I think what you give out to other people is what you will receive. That doesn't mean you have to do what Mother Teresa did and go to the streets and start saving 1 million lives. But what you can do is you can go to other people with your love. You can always bring warmth to other people's world. You can always be there when people need you. You can always reach out a hand and make sure that you treat people the way that you would love to be treated yourself. Now, to the question, why did this happen to me? Whether the person was spiritual or not, I would give them the same answer. Because life will give you whatever experience is most helpful for the evolution of your consciousness. It will give you the lesson that you need to learn so that you can grow as quickly as possible. Depending on the way and the level you lead your life, how open you can remain for spirit to have as big an impact as possible will depend on what life throws at you. Often, the more spiritual journey you go on, the more accelerated the growth, and therefore sometimes the tougher the challenge that gets thrown before you. So perhaps that's worth bearing in mind when you have one of those really tough days and you think, oh my goodness, why did I take this challenge? Because it's giving you an even bigger opportunity to grow, and actually that is a gift. It might not feel like it at the time, it might really hurt. You might think, goodness me, this just isn't fair, I just give up on this. But actually what you should do is the opposite. You should take that challenge and you should thrive with it. You should grab it by both hands and go, thank you for this lesson, thank you for this opportunity to grow, thank you for this opportunity for me to become even greater, to see the full value of myself, to see the full magnificence of my potential. Because most people say, well, how do I know that this really is the experience that I need? Well, that's because the experience you're having at the moment is always what you need. As long as you're aware of this law, the laws of the universe, the law of what you attract is what you need to learn. And so long as you know that Spirit walks alongside you in every step, that means you can have a little smile and you can go, oh yeah, here we go again. Thank you very much. Let's do it. Ultimately, what we're all after in our lives, I think, is peace. Peace in the moment. When you don't find peace by rearranging the circumstances of your life, by getting rid of all the things that you think are holding you back because it's their fault, that they're blocking you, that they're stopping you reaching that ultimate goal. No, you get peace by realizing that who you are at the very deepest level. And to get to the absolute deepest point, the most profound part of you, you have to go on this crazy obstacle course of life, meeting many challenges, learning many lessons, accepting them, sending love to them, making peace with them, being compassionate, being awesome, being you. And then there's that amazing question, which people often start when they're embarking on the spiritual journey, which is, will I be enlightened in this lifetime? Oh, I think this has got to be the last time because I don't want to have to come back down here again. Many people who are suffering really hope that this is their last lifetime and their last route to enlightenment. But you know what the truth is? The truth is that early in your journey, you often wonder how long this journey will take to get to that end point, to get to that enlightenment, to see the truth, the light, to be like Jesus, to walk on water, to perform miracles in front of people, to never have to come back down to earth again, to listen to the cicada singing away in the background. But later on in life, you will see, and I think it was Ram Dass who said this, that actually where you're going is here, now. And when you arrive in that position of now, you'll stop asking this question of when you'll be enlightened. Now, that doesn't mean you're enlightened now, but it means you're content. And actually, the only way you're ever going to be content, the only way you're ever going to be enlightened is to accept everything that is going on, to accept there's only one place to be. Being in the future is impossible. Yes, you'll be in the future when it becomes the now, but actually putting yourself in the future, trying to predict the future, trying to see yourself as this enlightened being, well, that is impatience. That is blocking you being in the now, stopping you from growing until you are 100% here and now and listening to the cicada singing in the background, until you're here and now and feeling the pain or feeling the love of the moment, then enlightenment is always going to be a long way off. But the moment you come into the now, you can actually feel the presence of what it would be like to be as enlightened as the Buddha sat under the tree, the highest version of yourself in that Tibetan cave. Don't be anxious about tomorrow. Don't start predicting enlightenment for you in 2 days' time. For tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Let the day's own trouble or beauty be sufficient for the day. Feel the majesty of the moment. And just like people talk about death, I mean, death is the stripping away of all that is not you. The secret of life is to die before you die. I believe that the secret to enlightenment is actually to become enlightened in the moment, not to wait for that enlightenment, not to plot your journey to enlightenment, but just to be in that moment. And just like death, when it comes, it will come. But if you're ready for enlightenment by being in the moment, then that's all you need. It's a bit like telling a caterpillar that he's going to be a butterfly, so he spends his entire caterpillar life dreaming of flying around and being colourful. When actually being a caterpillar is pretty cool too. You get to go around eating leaves, get yourself fat, build up strength, have a big sleep in the cocoon. But if you spend your entire life as a caterpillar trying to be a butterfly, then you've wasted half your life waiting for the next part. I often tell children when they're going, oh, I can't wait to be an adult. My kids start putting on their makeup, they start putting on mummy's dresses, they start putting nail varnish on and saying, oh, I want to be grown up, I want to be able to do that. And then when they get to be teenagers, they want to be in nightclubs because they can't. They always want what they can't have. And then when they're adults, they get stuck in their jobs, they're dreaming of being retired because once again they don't have to work. And their entire life is gone. Just like that. When actually you realise as an adult that being a kid is absolutely amazing because there's no work, there's no jobs, there's no stress, there's no bills to pay. All that is taken care of. And when you're an adult working, you're in the absolute heartbeat of your life, the most beautiful moment. You're in full health, you're an adult, you can do everything you want, so many opportunities, a full life ahead of you. And then when you're retired, you probably look back and you go, oh, I wish I had my health, I wish I was young, I wish I was free, I wish I was a kid again. All these different dynamics, and everyone's dreaming and wishing of being in the other place, the younger them, the older them, the retired them, when actually they're never in any of those places. The only place that you can actually feel that truth, feel that presence is right now. You can do nothing but work on yourself to help other people, to help yourself, to help the world, to find your true happiness. And if you think you're free, that really means there's no escape possible. What you have to do is you have to accept that you're taking the curriculum of life. It's an honor to be on this planet right now. There's all sorts of crazy stuff going on. There's all sorts of crazy stuff going on in all our lives. Perhaps money is short. Perhaps food is hard to get hold of. Perhaps the government's placed limits on you on where you can go. Perhaps you can't go on holiday. But you know what? Just stop and just say, hey, here I am. I'm alive. And as far as I'm alive, I can be present and I can feel the love. And Ram Dass spoke a lot about cosmic humor. He said that if you desire to move mountains and you continue to purify yourself, ultimately you'll arrive at the place where you're able to move mountains. But in order to arrive at that position of power, what you'll have to do is give up being he who wanted to move the mountain, so that you can be he who put the mountain there in the first place. And the kind of cosmic humor is that finally, when you have the power to move the mountain, you suddenly become that person who placed it there in the first place. So that's where the mountain stays, because you were the one who put it there in the first place. And the same could be said about life. We spend our entire life trying to change things, move things around, so everything is absolutely perfect. Maybe you're one of these people who likes to go into your lounge and move the furniture constantly. But actually, it doesn't matter where the furniture is. Because if you're in that place of love, you'll love it anyway. If you're comfortable with yourself, then the sofa will look great in every single position. You'll realize that you don't need to move it to see the TV better, because you don't even need to watch the TV. You'll realize that you don't need to move it closer to the fireplace, because it's always going to be the perfect temperature. You'll realize that you don't need to put it near the window, because you don't actually need to look out the window to see that perfect view of life, because actually the perfect view is in your heart. And if you're happy and you're content, and you don't need external things to make you happy, then the sofa could be in the dustbin for all you care. You'll just be loving that dustbin. So what are we trying to say? Expectation is one of the things which just causes disappointment. Don't have expectations for yourself, and you will never be let down by anything. And certainly do not listen to the expectations of other people. Maybe, yes, you have a job and you have to do a little errand, or you have to do something to make your boss happy, right? That's fine. That's a small thing. But in the big scheme of things, in the great scheme of things, in the big picture of life, don't lead the life that someone else wants you to live. Don't lead the life that someone else has told you that you think you should then live. Live the life that the unique part of yourself wants to live. Live the life with the cicada singing in the background. If the cicada's singing, awesome. Look at a tree. Does a tree have expectations? No, a tree just stands there and it accepts everything that's thrown at it, whether that's wind, rain, sunshine, chainsaws. And if it has to die, it dies. Game over. So what? I was a tree. I did my thing. It stands there with great patience. It puts its roots in the ground. It connects and loves everything around. It takes every bit of water. It doesn't ask for any more to drink. It takes every bit of sun. It doesn't ask for any more sun that it's already got. It doesn't complain when it rains, because when the rain falls, it's beautiful. And if it doesn't rain, it doesn't complain either, because so what? I was planted here, this is where I am. And we need to be more like trees. Maybe we need to be slightly more mobile than trees, and perhaps slightly more communicative as well. But ultimately, trees are a great example of how to live life. So, here's to a drop of wisdom which has been completely and utterly enlightened by a cicada singing in the background in the south of France. Thank you so much for listening. I love you all. Love and peace. Peter and the cicada. Namaste.